we have heard news from some of our sister colonies that we have been asked to share with our neighbors and our friends. On Tuesday night, arrived in this city a gentleman who had come express from Boston with the following interesting intelligence. December 16th. It being understood that Mr. Roche, owner of the ship Dartmouth, rather lingered in his preparations to return her to London with the East India Company's tea on board. There was on Monday last evening a meeting of the committee of several of the neighboring towns in Boston, and Mr. Roche was sent for. And inquired of whether he continued his resolution to comply with the injunctions of the body assembled at the Old South Meeting House on Monday and Tuesday preceding. Mr. Roche answered that in the interim he had taken the advice of the council and found that in case he went on his own motive to send that ship in the condition it was in, it would inevitably ruin him financially. It must, therefore, he said, he begged them to consider what he had said at that meeting, that to be the effect of compulsion and unadvised, and in consequence that he was not holden to abide by it. When he was now assured that his much utterly ruin was not necessarily the fate, Mr. Roche was then asked whether he would demand a clearance for his ship in the customs house, and in case of a refusal, enter a protest, and in case of a refusal, enter and then apply in like manner for a pass and order his ship to sea. To all which he answered in the negative. The committee, doubtless informing their respective constituents of what had passed, a very full meeting of the body was again assembled at Old South Meeting House on Tuesday afternoon, and Mr. Roche, again called on, was inquired as before, and such a motion was then made and seconded that Mr. Roche be enjoined from setting to repair to the collector of the customs and demand a clearance for his ship, and 10 gentlemen were appointed to accompany him as witnesses of the demand. Mr. Roche then proceeded with the committee to Mr. Harlington's lodging and made the demand. Mr. Harlington observed that he could not give answer till he had consulted to the comptroller, but would at office hours next morning give a definitive answer. On the return of Mr. Roche and the committee to the body with this report, the committee was adjourned to Thursday morning at 10 o'clock. And this very informative information that we received from Boston does go on to talk about various other examples of ships' owners who are now protesting in different ways against the tea tax. One set of news comes from Charleston, South Carolina. We have also heard from Oxford, England. It is England, Oxford, Maryland in England, and from Annapolis and from Chestertown, as well as several other postal and customs ports up and down the East Coast. One of which, the northernmost, is probably the most distant, was at Cape Cod. We have also learned that it appears the Townshend Act is being reversed. However, it will not reverse the tax on tea, and we as English people, English citizens of the Crown, are quite fond of our tea, and indeed as colonists, it is one of the few enjoyments we have from the daily work of our hands. And so we do hope that the government in London will realize that the Crown will be advised that it would be best to allow us to have our tea without this extra levy on it. This cannot go well if we all continue down these paths of revolt and complaint, but it seems we have little choice. Thank you.